fuel measurement system on my 2003 Humvee. I got a fairly new fuel gauge that I put in. I'll show you that here in just a second. But we still seem to be measuring infinite, so it immediately thinks it's at full even though it's not. I think what we got is just a bad sending unit, but I'll show you the kind of how I came to that conclusion and show you the replacement of the sending unit itself. All right, so here's the new fuel gauge I have in. You'll notice when I turn it on, it immediately goes to full, even though I know the tank is not full. So the way the sending unit works is it basically just is a variable resistor. Depending on where the float is inside the tank, changes the amount of resistance that gets sent back to the fuel gauge and varies the needle in the fuel gauge. Having it all one way or all the other, obviously when you know there's something in the tank, means the gauge isn't accurate. And I think what we typically get is you either get measured across the two posts on the sending unit, you either get infinite resistance, meaning that there's no connectivity whatsoever, or you get zero resistance, meaning that it's going to more than likely show either completely full or completely empty, depending on, I think it's the varier the resistance, the greater the amount that's in the gauge. So anyway, I'll show you kind of where I'm going with that. But so I've got my voltmeter set on volts DC, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure across the two pins that are on the sending unit itself. It doesn't really matter which one goes where, but we stab these in there. And getting it in one through that access panel is kind of interesting. So yeah, what I'm actually seeing is you can see it dancing all over the place. 800 some odd ohms, 1,000 ohms, 900 ohms, 11, 1,500, 12. If I'm not mistaken, I think these things only measure something like 0 to 200 ohms. So if we're going way over that, obviously this would show why the gauge is thinking it's all the way full, because it's seeing a massive amount more resistance than it really should be. So anyways, what I think I'm going to do is go ahead and replace the sender unit, and we'll see what happens. Stick with me. Take the wire out of the way for a second. And here comes the old one. If I'm doesn't want to fit. There we go. Oh, that was not good. Yep, so there's the old float style. There's the newer style, is just a sleeve. Alright, so now that we got the new sender unit mounted, and it's secured all the way down, and it was a bit of a pain in the ass. Apparently it had to be keyed, so I had to play with it a little bit to get it mounted. Anyway, went ahead and hooked the wires up, and we should be good to go. We should be solid, and once I know for a fact it's working, I'll tuck those out of the way. But let's take a quick look. So, the moment of truth. Let's flip it on and see what the fuel gauge does. Hey, look at that. So it looks like we have a working fuel gauge. The wires are all tucked and out of the way. They run around and come up over here, and they're snug. They're not going anywhere. I should be able to put the access panel back on and bolt it back down, and we can be done with this.